People, Deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all doing well and safe on this. I was about to say fine Wednesday morning, but the weather looks appalling. Saying that, hay fever's still doing a number with me. I keep fighting the urge to sneeze and my eyes are killing me, people. But regardless of that, you know, I've got my health, family's got their health. Hopefully the same can be said for yours. Got no worries. So yeah, man, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, according to the time zone you actually have in whatever region of the world you have. DG Nation's gone international. On that topic though, before I begin with the nonsense Arsenal rumours and reports, people, I want to say thank you. First and foremost, we managed to reach the finals of the Football Content Awards. You know, there's some big names on that list, man. I'm seeing Rants and Bants, I'm seeing Villa on tour, I'm seeing all these names, but I'm seeing little old DG, and considering, you know, we've only got 20 odd subscribers, we ain't got the best, you know, resources and stuff, but we're still doing a thing. We're there, man, and it was a nice feeling to see my name there on the website. So yeah, thank you very much for everybody that voted, you know, whoever you are, to get us to that point. Please keep making sure you're voting, because it's now a next round of voting. You can vote on Instagram, you can vote on Twitter, you can vote on the website. Links will all be in the description. Let's try and bring this home, and if for no other reason, it's at the Spurs ground when we're allowed back to be with everybody. So imagine an Arsenal fan lifting a trophy there. But on a serious note, I know I've got even a lot of Spurs people that support me, so thank you very much. But let's keep pushing this. Personally, I don't expect to win. I got to the final last year, don't expect to win, you know, purely because it's, yeah, man, I don't expect to win. But let's try a thing, man. So yeah, man, if you could all spare 5 minutes to, you know, even less than 5 minutes to vote. If not, you know, I feel no sort of way, you've all got your own things to do. But if you have, thank you very much already. And if you haven't, please check out my description and vote, or head to the Football Content Awards website. As you can see, hay fever is killing me, people. Now, first and foremost, I'm all sure every day there's something new with Aubameyang. 1 minute he's staying, 1 minute he's going, 1 minute we want to open talks, then there's been no contract talks. We don't know in it. Until the man signs a deal, his future's going to be up in the air. And next season, obviously, if we keep him, which I don't know if we're going to keep him, I think it's 50-50. It's another season where it's unneeded speculation. With every good game, Aubameyang's not like Alexis Sanchez, but with every good game, you know, people are going to say, oh, Arsenal can't keep him. With every bad game, he's not motivated, and all these other connotations that comes with someone in a delicate contractual situation, such as our captain and star striker. And that's something I don't want to see, because, you know, as an Arsenal fan, I've been saying it since I've started my videos. One thing that frustrates me is every year there's some EastEnders drama with this club. If it's not Alexis, it's Ramsey. If it's not Ramsey, it's Ozil. If it's not Ozil, it's Aubameyang now. And, you know, even Saka to a degree, and it'll be someone next season and the season after that. That's something that's always been here. Even Van Persie to a degree. What, he had a year or so left on his deal before he bust out, I'm sure. I could be wrong on that. But either way, he wasn't even trying to sign a new thing. So, yeah, man, I think, especially because it would be Arteta's second season, first full season as Arsenal manager, obviously we're not going to be able to bring in all the players he wants and get rid of all the players he wants to. But I think he deserves a clean slate. I think he deserves to just be able to focus on footballing matters. Now, the club and Arteta and the boys should not get distracted by Aubameyang's contractual stuff. But I just want it to be a season where we're dealing with, are we getting back in the top four? What we're doing on the field, you know. Only things I want to hear off the field is what we're doing in the community, what we're doing in terms of incomings. I don't want to hear it in terms of contracts. Contracts are a thing we need to get right, and we heard we're trying to get it right, but we're not seeing no action in that regards. The latest report I saw is that, you know, Arteta and Arsenal are resigned to losing him, but they're actually open to allowing him to run down his deal if they don't get 20 million for him. Now, how much? 20 million would obviously be a kick in the teeth, and obviously a lot of that is in line with what's happening globally. But if we're going to 20 million might be a lot of money for Arsenal in our situation, but for me, if you're chasing 20 million, you might as well let him run down the deal. You might as well let him run down the deal, fix up the squad, and try help us get top four, in the hope that you could convince him. If not, the pessimistic approach, which is mine, you know, we sign whatever areas Arteta wants to address, so that we have a proper squad that's consistent and can do what we need to do to really fight for top four. We get top four, Aubameyang's goals make the difference. As you lot know, it don't matter if you're Liverpool, if you're bottom of the table, if you're chasing Champions League or Europa, if you're chasing a top 10 finish, strikers make the difference. It sounds cliche, but where would we be without Aubameyang's goals? So if he's still going to be vital and still score 20 league minimum goals and 30 odd in all comps, you know, you could use that, you know. Use this year to find another target, to think of who can replace him. Use him for this, which I'm assuming will be next season. What I'm saying, next season, people. You know, applaud him. We keep it going. He's helped us get Champions League and the financial rewards that comes with it. That could be worth more than getting a 20 million for him. Because where's 20 million gonna go for us? Sure, you could probably go take that 20 million, slap a bit of extra change on that, and go for the names we've been linked with, like Odegaard, Baidu, and all these strikers that you're hoping can break up to that next level. But you know, if you're going to do that, and you might as well, if you're relying on 20 million for Aubameyang, for me, you might as well just let him run down his deal. That's just me personally. But the Telegraph has said Arteta is prepared to initiate talks over a new deal with Aubameyang and hopes to impress him and his father rather than leaving matters in the hands of the club chiefs. Arteta believes he can make a difference by taking on a hands-on approach to Aubameyang's future. Now, how hands-on can he be with respect to Arteta? And I'm sure Arteta knows, and Aubameyang knows. It's a bit like, you know, even Alexis Ozil. Wenger was saying don't give, for all Wenger's wrongs at this club at times, he was saying don't give Alexis and Ozil new deals. But Ozil signed it, so it's out of, and he still had to work with him, so it's out of his hands sort of thing. Arteta is a manager. In fact, he's a head coach. So, you know, there's a lot of things he's having to deal with. Coaching players that we didn't think were good enough. Coaching young players. Potentially saying, I want A, B, C, D, and only getting that E target. Not getting his first, second, or third choices and still having to work with that. And contractual matters are out of his hands. It's not like a Ferguson or a Wenger thing where they're more than just managers. It's out of his hands. I'm sure he can sit there and say to Arteta, he can try and persuade Aubameyang as much as he wants. And to be fair, Arteta seems to have quite the voice, because you hear how good he was for the wage talks. What can Arteta do? All he can do is praise how good he is for the side, preach how vital he could be for the team and the young players, how much he wants him here. But in terms of when it gets down to the nitty gritty, and I'm sure, listen, that's a valid reason for Aubameyang to want to stay, and he needs to take that into consideration. But Arteta, with all due respect, I'm pretty sure he's not there when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of the contracts, the length, the bonuses, the clauses. Obviously, he can be in the room and stuff, but it's not down to him. That's not what he's in charge for. So to a degree, a lot of that is out of his hands. He can't, in the power pyramid, Arteta holds very little power. He can't forego anything or overrule anything Raul Sanllehi says. So what more can he do? All he can do is go on the charm offence and hope to, you know, woo Aubameyang that any sort of ambitions he had that lied away from Arsenal are not something he should pursue. It goes back to when he signed the deal. Really, we should have had an option of another year, but it is what it is. It went on to say Arteta is desperate to build the clubs Arteta is desperate to keep the club's top striker and build a young and vibrant team around him. And you can imagine Aubameyang, like David Luiz, they seem good with everybody. They're good with the experienced ones. They're good with the fans. Obviously, Aubameyang's a baller as well. He's good with the young players, and he is a captain. He's not the typical sort of captain we're used to in England, in that, you know, it's a man there, all right, mate, shut up, let's go do this, you know, Jack the lad sort of thing. Aubameyang is someone, for me, he leads by example. He gives support, but Aubameyang doesn't strike me as someone. Just even before Arsenal, Aubameyang will say things when they need to be said and stuff like that. So you can see why. And he leads by example, as cliche as that is to say. I'm sure he feels a sense of pride, captaining Arsenal and stuff. But really, this being Arsenal captain and all these things should really not hold any weight. You should consider all the reasons to stay for Arsenal, staying at Arsenal, and all the reasons to move away from Arsenal, and then go with your heart. And I would say this: as much as I want Aubameyang to stay, if he is having this conversation with himself and he's listening to his heart, and his heart isn't Arsenal, then I think he should move on. I shouldn't begrudge you. I don't think Aubameyang's motivation levels will drop, and especially it's testament to him, especially with his contractual stuff now. He's never let it affect his performances like Alexis Sanchez did at a time. But if he doesn't want to, if Arsenal isn't the answer when he looks into his heart, then he has to move on, and I can't begrudge him for moving on. You know, it's a short career. Again, he's won titles, but has he won anything major of any significance that maybe the Madrids and these teams that he's linked with, whether they want him or not, could offer if they put the money on the table? You know, I couldn't begrudge him for doing that, because he's come here, he's done all he can. The carrot of him coming here, similar to Lacazette, was, you know, you come in next year before we get back in the Champions League, and that's proved harder than we thought. So I can't begrudge him for that, man. I mean, yeah, he needs to play in the Champions League, and, you know, every year it gets harder and harder to do such. And when was the last time he played it at Dortmund? He's not played it for about 2-3 years now, so it don't make no sense. Moving away from that though, and again it's more of the same with Ceballos. We know Ceballos wants to go back to Madrid. We know if he had his way, his future lies at Madrid. He said, first and foremost, I had to miss so many games because of injury, but I worked very hard to turn things around. I have a very good relationship with Arteta. He gave me confidence, and now I'm focused on finishing the season the best way I can so that we can reach our goals. When pressed on his future, he said, apologies, hay fever's killing me. When my loan deal expires, I'll be a Real Madrid player again. My goal is to succeed there one day. So again, he will go back in pre-season and fight tooth and nail to show Zidane, if Zidane still is there, that he is the man to help him in some way. Obviously, David Luiz has been linked with Benfica, especially as it's coming to light what's going on with David Luiz's contract. Pardon me, the Benfica president said, Luis Felipe Vieira said, I spoke to Luiz again yesterday. We have a father-son relationship. He was in the car with the businessmen preparing to renew with Arsenal. What he earns is unthinkable for Benfica to pay. We've previously heard Luis say he would like to return to Benfica at some point. And then he'd have to take a wage cut. And again, maybe Google Translate's done a number, but I assume he meant David Luiz was with his agent. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the case of David Luiz, because on one hand, I think Luiz, just on purely playing, deserves a new deal. He's 33, he's shown that he can do something. He's had a good season, he's been one of the most consistent ones. He's shown for me that it's Luiz and someone next season, whether that's Saliba, whether that's a new centre-half, whether that's a holding, or Mustafi gets a look, Luiz has shown that. But on the other hand, when you look away from it, and even to a degree Sporting matters, it's similar to Koscielny. What I'm on Real, and not to be ageist and stuff, but one thing I hate about Arsenal at times is that we have an over-reliance on older players. Like with Luiz, we don't know if he's going to play to this standard next season. God forbid, and testament to him, he's never, even with his age, he's barely been injured. But if he gets injured, how long is he going to recover? Longevity-wise, what's he going to do? Sign a new one-year deal at max? So is this potentially a chance with... Do we go for that younger partnership, or Arteta be allowed to bring in a centre-half, or have a existing pairing that might be a bit young and naive, that might have to learn some harsh lessons, but longevity-wise, they're there. Like if Saliba and a new centre-half came in. Because, Luiz isn't going to be here for 5 years or so, like Saliba potentially could, and stuff, and a couple of other players in other formations and things like that. So we'll have to see. Obviously, the finance matters. It probably doesn't make sense for Luiz to stay as well. But we'll have to see. Keeping up with the theme of Brazilian defenders, though, and as you lot know, we've previously been linked with the 21-year-old defender Bruno Fuchs. Apparently, no clubs have made an offer for the player as yet, but according to reports in Brazil, Porto, Arsenal and AC Milan are linked with him. So we'll have to see what happens with that. A player that's on loan away from Arsenal and needs to be moved on a permanent basis, El Nene, who's currently at Besiktas. We've heard that he's in a bit of a dispute or disagreement over money he's owed by his loan club. Apparently, courtesy of Turkish Football One, a good account for Turkish footballing matters on Twitter, Besiktas are at deadlock in talks with Mohamed El Nene over an ongoing pay dispute, which could see him return to Arsenal before the end of his loan contract. El Nene is refusing to play again for Besiktas until what he is owed is given. And to be fair, he's within his rights. If you're owed money, you want your P's, with all due respect to what's happening globally. Obviously, that's bad news for Arsenal, because you heard Besiktas wanting to try and make him permanent, whether you believe that or not. So that probably closes the door to that and brings him back with his future uncertain. Does he stay and be a bit part player? Does Arteta want to give him a chance? Or potentially, is he someone that should have been moved on a while ago? We'll have to see, but that probably makes our job a bit trickier. Keeping up with the theme of midfielders, though, the Daily Star has claimed that Arsenal, Everton and Tottenham Hotspur have been offered Inter Milan midfielder Vecino this summer, with the player looking to leave Antonio Conte's side. So maybe that's agents offering him to us because he wants to get his player a new situation. There are other newspapers reporting that, and the language is a bit different. It more gives the tone that Arsenal, Everton and Arsenal are more pursuing him. This one pursues that. This one gives me the thing that it's more his agent pursuing a move than clubs going for such guy, my people. Moving away from that, though, apparently Mesut Ozil is going to be dumped by Adidas people. Apparently they've decided to end his 22 million sponsorship deal off, and also it's important to remember he was dropped by Mercedes. According to Blin, he could be left without a boot sponsor after Adidas decided not to renew his lucrative contract beyond this summer. They've also claimed that another reason Ozil is being dropped is because Adidas are desperate to cut costs during the pandemic after seeing their profits take a hit. In late April, the company predicted that sales could fall as much by 40% in the second quarter after losing 860 million worth of sales in the same month. Adidas are the second major sponsor Ozil has lost in the last 2 years after Mercedes in 2018 allowed his contract to expire. So I imagine he's earned a few, you know, he's still got sponsors, he'll still be good. But that again, and he'll still be alright. He's still, at least for another year, if he's still at Arsenal, he'll still be. We know Ozil's a big brand. Branding is important for footballers. You look at Sterling, Sancho, them and there are going to be big brands if they're not already. Branding is great. Branding does help. But this shows you that Ozil's I guess that, you know, Ozil's not deemed as marketable as much. Like, Ozil's still a big presence. He's still one of names. Maybe we all know in terms of playing, he's not necessarily the best player right now. But in terms of names, you know, he is one of the best players, one of the biggest in the league. You know, you think of Ozil, you think of Paul Pogba, you think of Mo Salah, you think of Kevin De Bruyne, and the bare of them at City, and there's bare of them. So that still, he will still get sponsors, and that will still help the club. Obviously, with Arsenal's and Adidas ties, it's a bit like raw, and it also tells me that obviously Ozil on the field is impacting him off it, because, you know, I just said Pogba. Let's use Pogba for example. Clearly, Pogba is in a better way than Ozil, but they're not gonna renew. They're not gonna get rid of Pogba's, and I'm sure Ozil and Pogba have a similar. One might have more, one might have less, but they both got big social media presence. They both got big brands. Pogba, for obvious reasons, is still more marketable. You know, if he leaves Man United, he's still gonna go to a Juventus and whatnot, and he's still got a couple of years left. And not just him. Again, can't really think of any other names that would be by Adidas, but this shows me that they've looked at all the names and they've said, you know what, Ozil, you're not as marketable as, you're still marketable, but you're just not as cost effective as you think. Like 22 million on you when, you know, you've only had what, 6 assists in the last 2 seasons in the league or something. I can't remember. Someone commented it the other day, as much as I love Ozil, it is appalling. It don't make sense, because he is a big brand. He still, you know, would make you money, but if you're cutting costs, he is someone you've got to look at. And he's obviously lost Mercedes. He lost a couple of other sponsorships due to his speaking on political stuff as well, folks. So it is what it is in that regards. Finally, though, and it's not of any relevance, but former player Robert Perez has revealed he's got a desire to become a head coach now. I thought he still wanted to be a player. He's always at the training ground. But he said, I think coaching is a good job, even if it's hard on a daily basis. I think that in years to come, I will decide to take the coaching diplomas, and I plan to do it in Spain. I think he does have Spanish roots as well as French. I can't say which team I'm going to coach. Honestly, I can't choose. You don't know where you're going when you coach. He said, I could tell you that I'm going to train Arsenal, Metz, Reims, Marseille or Villarreal, but no, I can't. Today is complicated. So we wish Perez all the best in his coaching endeavours and things like that. And I would say it's about time, Perez. How long have you been retired for? It's about time you tried to do up the coaching stuff. Maybe he didn't want to do it initially and he's been pushed in the right direction. I don't know. But, you know, we give him all our support. On that note, though, there isn't much more for me to speak about with anything concerning Arsenal. I actually want to go and blow my nose. So yeah, on that note, thank you very much for pursuing and persisting with this video, with my hay fever and all of this. Please go vote for the Football Content Awards. Links are in the description. Links are in the comments as well. Let's try and bring that one home. Most importantly, stay safe. Stay safe. Stay safe. Stay safe. People, DG, I'm out.